Hello, welcome to Dazzle Migration Fashion Academy. Here is going to be very informative, promise to be informative and very educative. So the first class we have today is to make a baby dress that has a flounce under, a ruffled with crinoline. So now let's start by doing our pattern. So this is our pattern paper. We're going to come down by 2 inches, which is our top line, because at the top part we wrote our measurements. So we're going to come down 2 inches and then we connect. We're going to draw the front and the back pattern on one paper. Okay, so this is going to be the back and this is the front. So we're going to start with the front. We're going to start with the shoulder. Across shoulder here, this is 5 inches. We're going to label this A. And then the full length for the front is 9.5. We're going to come down by 1/16. This is 9.5. We'll come down with an additional 1/16, which is here. And we'll locate it down and roll. So we're going to mark here B and mark this shoulder point C. We're coming down 5 inches. You're putting your ruler here and then come down by 5 inches. You're going to measure it to be sure that it's 5. Here we are there. So we're going to get our center front length. We'll minus it by 3/8. Center front length is 7.5, which is this. This is 7.5. So less 3/8. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 down. We're going to mark here D. So now we're going to measure the chest. The chest here now is 5.5. Which we label E. So right now we're going to do our slope, which is the shoulder slope. The front is 9.58. We're going to measure from here and locate 9.58 on this line. Mark 9.58. So we're going to roll and label that F. So the shoulder length now is 3/18. We're going to measure from here and locate 3/18, which is here. I'm labeling that as G and measure 2 3/4. And then here we're going to take this, we're going to square this out. Measure 3/4 inch up. This is for shaping of the dress. This is H. I'm going to call this H. And this is going to be I. So right now we want to do the shaping of this place. So we're going to come down by 2.5. And then come in by 3/4. This is J and this is K. So now we're going to so the side length for this is 3 inches. So now we're going to connect here. Connect here to this point. There you go. So this is what we have for the front pattern. So now then we're going to also square this out. And then blend the neck. We're going to come in a little bit. So that is it for the front. So the back, we're also going to do this shoulder length as 5. And then the full length is 8 3/4, just the way we added 1/16 for the front. We're going to do that here. And then roll out. So the chest is 5.5. So we're labeling here A, B, C. After A, then now for the D, we're going to use the center back length, which is 8 1/4, which is here. And then we're going to square out by about 4 inches. Measure this by about 4 inches. And then square this out. Make sure your ruler is aligned on this line. And then you square out. So this is our D. So right now the back arc, like we got, this is what we have here. So this is E. So we're going to come up by 5 inches, square out by 5 inches. About 5 inches. Measure to confirm. So we square by about 5 inches. So you square this down so that we can get our shoulder slope. And our shoulder slope for the back is 9 1/8. So we're going to come here and locate 9 1/8 and measure. Roll that out. So that's F. So we're going to get the shoulder length, which is 3 1/8. You measure from this F and get your 3 1/8 here. That's our G. And we can come and square this out as well. We're going to bring this by 5 inches, then measure 2.5 inches down from here, and you come in by 5/8. This is our H, and then for here we're going to come in by 1/8. Measure 2 3/4 for the shaping. We are coming down this line by another 1/8, and then we are going to You can do a straight line, you can just do a slight curve. So from here is where we are going to measure our 3 inches side length. This is where we measure as HI. So I'm going to connect this place to this point. So right now we're going to try and curve this place, make our armhole. So you have to connect 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3 are coming together. So this is the back, and then this is the for the neck on the back. We're going to come up by 3/8 and then shape. So this is what we are having for our pattern. So right now we're going to go trace and then start sewing. Now we're going to trace. We're going to, so that we can do our manipulations on the other one. So this is the line we are taking, this one here, the E line. And then the shoulder and the neck. That's all for the back. And then the front. The shoulder and the neck. So now we're going to transfer. We're going to bring out all the measurements with our pencil and ruler. We want to draft how the pattern is going to go. This is where the measurement is going to stop, because it's going to be cut on the waist, and then we're going to add the ruffles on the waistline. So here we're going to measure 1/2 inch away from the shoulder so that it's not too deep. This is for a 1-year-old child. So we're doing 1/2 inch, and then we come out here. I always like to make here, I like to square this out before I shape it if it's a round neck, so that it's going to rest on this. You can use either one, either you use this curve or you use this curve. We are coming to rest on this line, and then you do the same for the back. We came out 1/2 inches on the shoulder. We're going to do the same 1/2 inch on the back shoulder as well, and then we come down by 1 inch. You can decide to come down any amount of inches you want. You can make it a little bit deep. You could do 1.5, and then you square out. Make sure your ruler is on this line, and then you square it out, and then rule, curve it. So from here now we're going to do a little bit of neck tightening, because if we do it this way, this is the actual neck. So at the moment you try to open up the neck, you have to do a bit of neck tightening so that the neck will be firm, because like this and just sewing it is going to be a bit loose on the neck. So we're going to do that. You take that out from here. and then take it out. So right now we're going to cut and then put our sewing allowances. Here's ½ inch, here is ½ inch round everywhere. We could do 1 inch here so that when the child grows up and you still want to whip the outfit is still fitted, you can still, you know, have sewing allowances to increase the outfit for the child. Because the dress is going to be sleeveless, we always like to reduce the armhole by half just to close it up a little bit. It's not completely sleeveless, but the armhole is going to be opened. So we're going to come up by ½ inch and then we blend it. And blend the front as well. Make sure it's not too far. It has to blend with the old line. You have to blend it before you curve it out. So that's it. And then quickly take off ½ inch from the shoulder so that it's not, for sleeveless, it's not supposed to be exactly on the shoulder slant or the shoulder tip. So we're going to come in a little bit and then take that out. Do that for the front. Come in by half. There you go. So what we did, because it's sleeveless, if we were not doing sleeveless, you just want to do a normal blouse, a normal dress, you're going to use this same one and make your outfit. But for the fact that we're making a sleeveless outfit, we have to come up a bit by half to close up the arm a bit, and then we come in by half so that it's not on the shoulder tip, and then we now cut this one and cut on our fabric. So right now we're cutting the facing. This process is not compulsory, but I just like to cut my facing so that the inner lining is going to look just like the fabric outside. Like in case the neckline just, you know, bends in any way, you're going to see the same material showing at the other side. So we're just going to attach this one on top of our lining. So we're going to attach this on the lining. So we're doing the same thing for the back, not just the front. We're going to cut facing for the back as well. Okay, so now this is an interfacing. We're going to cut an interfacing for the fabric. After cutting your lining, you cut an interface just to give it a bit of fit, to to give it more fit. So cut our lining. So we're going to cut the interface. Stop. Okay. So after cutting the interfacing, this is it here. We're going to take off our pins. You take off your pins, and then this is the right side, this is the wrong side. So for the interfacing, you're going to place your fabric on top of the rough part. You're going to pull the wrong side on the rough part of your interfacing, and then use your steam iron to put this together. The lining, we're going to do that for the fabric as well, for the main material. Now I asked you to go trim off, so I've trimmed off all my excess interfacing. So now I'm going to put the fabric and the lining together. We're going to turn the neck. Remember our neck was, use a 1/4 inch. So now we're going to do shoulder to shoulder, opening up our seams. Open up your seam. Make sure you take off all pins from every angle that it can meet. Like something like this, you have to take it out and transfer it out where you can see it. So we're going to sew this together, 1/4 inch. You always check to see that your seams are opened. So now we're going to we are going to notch. Because it's a curve, we need to notch close to you can do 1/2 inch interval. Please make sure you don't cut off your stitch. So now we're going to top stitch. So top stitch. Make sure your seam allowances are on this side, are on the right hand, so that you can hold them down on this lining area. So now it's time for us to do the sleeve. We always finish, for sleeveless, we finish up the sleeve before we join the sides, and then we can now talk about the base, but we always do the sleeve first. So for this one now, we intend to put fringe, and for us to put the fringe, we have to measure how many inch this way and how many inch in front, back and front, we want the fringe to come. So for this one, I'm looking at doing 2.5 to the front, and then another 2.5 to the back, which is 5 inches. So we're going to cut a fringe of 15 inches because we're going to pleat it. So it's going to be 15 inches for this one, 15 inches for this one, and then put it together and then pleat. So this 15 inches, we're going to fold it into 3. We want the lighter side to be on top, so we're going to fold this one like this. Measure it. You are folding 5 inches, so this is almost there. This is 5 inches, and then the next 5 inches. Yeah, so you're going to make the edges equal, put them together. And by the time you sew 1/2 inch, it's going to be around this area. So now we're going to pin it on our outfit. We measured 2.5 here already. This is 2.5. So we are going to bring this now 2.5 in front, 2.5 to the back. So we're going to bring this now. This rough side should be here going to the back. Please make sure all these things are on the same line like this, so that no one is left behind. Make sure they are all on the same line, so that our 1/2 inch can pick them all. So we're going to pin this down now. We are dealing with only the material for now. Please be careful around this side. We're dealing with only the material for now. So after pinning this, we're going to go sew. We'll sew just this with the material, so that we can then place, so we can remove the pins. So we'll bring it to the machine. We are coming to sew. You don't have to lock your stitch here. You're just coming to run your stitch across this place. Make sure your shoulder allowance is opened flat. So that was why I said we should add 1/2 inch for the sewing allowance for the armhole. So that's it there. So now we're going to remove the pins and then put our lining on top. So So we're going to cover this with our lining. Make sure the rope is not involved. So we are sewing 1/2 inch. So right now we're going to notch the armhole so that it's going to be relaxed. We just notch close to the underarm so that we'll have a relaxed fit. So you do this for the 4 sides, and then you're bringing this out. Voila, there you go. So we're going to iron this so it'll look really neat and nice. So for here now, we're going to top stitch. We're going to top stitch this side. Make sure the sewing allowances are on the lining area. Top stitch up to where you can get to and stop. So you do that for the 4 sides, the front, the back, the 4 sides. Allowance, the side allowance for the outfit is 3. The side length, is 3. So we cannot do 3 inches for the sides for the belt. So now we're going to make the belt 2.5. So if we're doing 2.5, if we fold it into 2 will give us 5 inches. So for us to now have a sewing allowance, we are going to be cutting 5.5 to give us 1/4 inch sewing allowance. So we're going to just do this. I'm using the full length of the material. I just folded it into 4. So that's it. So right now we're going to cut this. There you go. We're going to cut this into 2. And then go fold. We're going to put interfacing in this lining. We're going to put a softer interfacing so that it would have a bit of, this is very soft. So we're going to cut an interface to make it strong. So we're going to sew 1/4. Again, ironing the belt. So now we're going to iron the bodies, place the material on top of it, and steam. we're going to place the belt. Okay. Like I said, this place is down, so we're leaving 1/2 inch at the base. So now the back is coming on top of the front like this, making sure that these places are together. Remember, we top stitched, and the top stitch is on the lining, so these sewing allowances have to be together, and then you pin. So you transfer this pin here, bring it here. So we're going to sew 1 inch all the way down. The same applies to this one as well. So you mark the 1 inch, and then you come So now we're back. This is our bodies. So we are going to measure the waist. Just measure it straight. So we have 25. So we're going to calculate the flare. We're going to do 25 times 3, which is 75. Then times 7. We're going to multiply it by 7, which will give us 525. We're going to divide it by 44, which is 11.93. So this is approximately 12. So our arc is going to be 12 inches. The first layer is 12. It's going to be by 12. The second layer is going to be 12 by 9. Then the third layer is going to be 12 by 6. So let's do all this. We're cutting them individually. So we're going to start with this 12 by 6 on the material. So we're folding our material into 4. To save a bit of fabric, we're going to take our hand out. We're cutting 2 of this because we're going to use 1 for the underlay, and then we're going to use 1 for the top layer of the flare. So for the underlay, we are going to do 12 by 11. But for this one now, we're cutting 12 by 6. Twelve plus 6 is 18. So we're going to look for 18 right there. Okay. So this is fine. So we're going to measure 12. Making sure that your tape rule is on this pointed part. We're trying to make a circle. The underlay would not be gathered. So the underlay, we are going to cut the underlay at the normal stitch. 6 inches, 6 inches. We're going to line this fabric with organza so it's not too thick. So this is the same way you're going to cut the organzas: 12 by 12, 12 by 9. Okay, so now we're going to cut the organza. But before we cut the organza, we're going to cut the lining. Because we're not adding any gathers to this one, we're going to calculate this one separately. This is, the waist is 25, which is times 7. It's 175. Then we divide it by 44. That will give us 3.9, which is approximately 4 inches. So we're going to be cutting 4 by 11 inches for the underlay. So you can see I had to pin this down before we cut so that everything will be in place. I'm cutting 2 of this. This is it. So this is the 2. So one is going to be the outer one is going to be the lining. You're just going to choose any one. Let's choose this one. Then I'm going to remove 3/4 from this one because this is going to go in and it's going to take the crinoline with it. So we're taking off 3/4 inch. I'm going to cut off 3/4. So this is going to serve as our lining. We are doing this for the 3 layers. We are doing this for 3 layers. For this one now, we're going to, because we're going to fix the zipper, we're going to open one side. Same applies here. We're opening just one side. So that's it. You notch the midpoint of the waist and the base for both of them. And then we're going to take off the pins. As you're taking them off, we want to put them together so we can go fix our crinoline. So right now, this is what we have for the middle. So we're going to pick them separately. And then we pin. You have to take off all the pins. We are pinning so that we can make sure that they are equal. Because since we've reduced 3/4 from the lining, if you're not careful, you may not want to get to the end. Okay, so right now we want to fix the crinoline. We'll put it on the shorter part, which is the lining area. So we're going to place, before we start to sew our crinoline, we'll have to cover up these sharp edges. We're going to use material or organza, but because of the sharpness of the fabric, I'm going to use the organza so that it's going to blend. So it blends with the fabric. There will be no difference. So we're just going to place this on this. Lock your stitch. So now we're going to close this up. Even if you're using crinoline for an adult, you always need to close this edge because it's very sharp. Reduce the length. So now we're going to place this, like I said, we're placing it on the shorter part of the organza. So this is the shorter part because we removed 3/4. So now we're going to place our crinoline. We'll give 1 inch space because we are going to fix zipper. So that place is going to come out neat. Then you make sure the 3 of them are the same, are together. Don't stretch your crinoline, just sew. So right now we're almost done. As we are getting towards the end of the fabric, we're going to stop like 1.5 inch before, just so that we can go sew the edge of this crinoline, so we can have a smooth end, just like the way we started the first one. This is it now. We cut it just 1 inch before the end, the way we started the other one. So now we are going to use the same organza again to cover this edge, these sharp edges. We'll cover it so that it will be smooth, and then we come back and then close up our stitch. So right now we're going to top stitch. This is the longer part, this is the lining area. So we're going to put our stitch, we're not folding the crinoline, so the crinoline has to be, you know, on this side so that it will be straight, and then we fold it to the other side. So now let's top stitch. So we are done top stitching now. We're done top stitching. So we're now going to iron. If you see, when you put the two together, they'll be equal. So we're going to iron these parts together. Okay, so right now we're done sewing. We're going to iron. We're going to iron this down so that the crinoline can stretch out a little bit, so we can sew it down. Then we'll go and sew down the crinoline so that the effect of the flare will show more. We are back here now. We're coming to sew the crinoline. So as you sew the crinoline, you make sure you spread it out properly so that you don't stretch the crinoline too much. Just try and follow the crinoline, the edges of the crinoline, so that your stitch will be straight. So right now we are following the crinoline so that it would control the size of our stitch, so that it will be uniform. Okay, so we're back from ironing. So this is what it is. So right now we're going to check to be sure everything is on the same line. So whichever excess we see, we're going to trim it out. So right now we're going to place everyone together, all the bases together. So we're starting from the longer one. Remember, we notched the middle. We get the front, so this is the front. We notched the middle. So we get the middle points. So we can go make gather stitch. So there you go. So you make sure they're all together. You have to make sure that there are 6 parts all together. So now we're going to pin. So we'll pin to the left, pin to the right, and then we'll go make our gather stitch. Okay, so right now we're done pinning. After the first stitch, we're now going to hand stitch it, because the first stitch is so we can take off our needle, our pins. So now we're going to just do a running stitch here. So we're looking for the middle point. See, so now we're getting the upper bodies, and we're going to notch the middle here as well. Put this together and then get the middle and notch it. So there you go. So we're going to put the right side on right side. Put this here and pin. So we're going to be having something like this. So now we're going to go stitch it 1/2 inch. So we're going to lock our stitch now. We're sewing 1/2 inches. 1/2 inch. So make sure they're on the same line. So we need to put this net underneath to make it, to push it up a little bit. So since the lining, we're going to cut lining, or we're going to be attaching the net to the lining. The lining, the fabric, the base of the fabric itself is 11. So our underlay is going to be 9. So this is going to be 8. While this, the net, we're not going to make it come so low. We're going to cut 6 inches for the net. Let's cut two of this, because one strip will not be enough. We're just going to put the net on one layer. So now for this one, we're going to cut semi-flare. What we cut before was fully flare, so now we're going to cut semi-flare, which is going to be folded into 2. Remember, we got 3.97 and we approximated to 4. So right now we're going to approximate, but we're going to multiply by 2. From that 4 multiplied by 2, that is going to give us 8. Pleats, go on our machine now and then pleats. We can decide to double it, so we don't, yeah, you can double it like this to give it a double effect, like this. So we'll go to the machine now. We'll skip 1/2 inch for our sewing allowance on the lining, and then we'll sew. So we're going to leave 1 inch for the zipper before we start, and then we'll lock our stitch first, and then we start to pleat. We're going to be pleating box pleats. So right now we're going to sew quarter on our underlay. So you sew this quarter from beginning till the end, and then we'll attach it to our fabric. So we're done putting the net. We'll notch the center of the lining, and then we'll also notch this one, but because this one was joined on in the middle, I don't have to notch it. So we'll finish sewing the quarter at the base. So now we're going to place this on this one, the underlay. We're going to place it on the net, and then we're going to pin them together. You know, this underlay was cut on fully flare, so it's going to be slightly bigger than the lining that was cut on semi-flare on the waist. So while we have this, we're going to put this on this like this. This is just for us to get a check to make sure that we are picking up the right thing. See? That means the right side of the satin is going to be facing you, while the linings are going to be facing each other. Are going to face each other like this. Then we'll pin from here all the way to the base, to the end. So anywhere there's an excess, we're going to pleat it out. So I have to make sure they're on the same line. When you finish pinning, you make sure you check to confirm that they are facing the right sides. So I'm going to be having it like this just to give it more fullness. So we're going to sew the 1/2 inch. So we're done. This is the finishing part. Placing your applique. So you can decide to put this anyhow you want it. This is now up to you. You can decide to put it this way. You can decide to put it just on the waist, but it might not really show because of this, all this busyness here. But you could still do this, then cut it and then place it on top. It's now up to you. You could do anything with your dress right now, but the most important thing is that the dress is ready. You can leave your fringe like this. You could reduce the length. So this is our dress. So now we want to go fix our zipper. We're going to measure 1 inch zip allowance, but usually at the very top of the neck I usually do a bit more than what I put there, just for firmness, and then I go back to the initial 1 inch. Yeah, so for design purposes, I'm going to use fuchsia pink so that there will be a pop color at the back as well. Just the way I changed it, I put a pop in front. So I'm going to put a pop of color at the back as the zipper. So before we fix the zipper, we're going to make everything equal. We're going to pin it down. So we'll have to pick up everything, not leaving anything behind. I've decided to use the big teeth zip because the style is very thick. It has a lot of fullness. If you use your invisible zip, it's going to pop. The zip is going to go bad because it's very thick. A slim invisible zip would not work for a style like this. Now let's pin the zip to the dress. So there you go. It's an invisible big teeth. I'm using a fat teeth because of the fullness of the dress, so it can pass. So we are fixing it this way. And then you open up the zip a little bit. You come down a little bit so that when you're done, you can easily fold it to the back. Can you see that? So you come down a little bit. You don't start like this, no. You come down a little bit to give it room for fold when you're done. So now you locate your waist, stretch it out, stretch the zip, stretch the dress. Now we're going to pin the waist down. Make sure there's no fold anywhere, please. Please drop comments in the comment section. If you have any question, please ask it in the comment section. So now we're going to mark the waist, and then we're going to mark this point and close the zip. I'm transferring those marks to the next side, see? So we can go fix it on the other side of the dress. So we're starting from the waist. We start that mark from the waist. And then we pin it up, take it up. Remember I said you have to stretch. Okay, and then pin to this. You can see it has to be equal. So now we're going to zip it up just to check Can you see? They have to align. They have to be equal. So now we're going to sew. Okay, so before you sew, you're going to change your footer into an invisible zip footer. So I've changed mine, so we're just going to dive right ahead. So don't forget to always lock your stitch, like I always say. So as you sew, you push this back so that nothing comes out. When you get to this thick end, you have to go slowly and gently, because this place is pretty thick. So we are looking at a stitch right here, that line. Yeah. So do the second side. The second side, you can decide to change your footer to the next side, but I usually just start from the base. I usually just start from here. So can you see that? And then here too. So when you're done now, you want to close up this base. So we're going to put everything together again. We're going to pin them, making sure they are all together. So we are done pinning now. So we're going to come to our machine now to close up. We're coming to close up on this end. You see where it stopped? Both of them stopped at the same point, so they are supposed to stop at the same point. So now we're going to close up, but right now we're going to change our footer to close up. I'll change it to the other side of the machine. So we are coming up by 1/4 inch above where this stopped. Can you see? We are coming 1/4 inch above where it stopped. So start. Lock your stitch. Don't forget we have a pin there. We'll go take it off. and then we take it down. You can measure. We are coming down with 1 inch. So we take off all our pins. Please try to look for all your pins. It's a baby girl's dress, so she's not poked by any pin anywhere. So we're done. So now we need to cut the zipper. So there you go. That's it. Neatly and nicely done. You can see everything has to be equal, so that even when they see it, a baby girl's dress doesn't mean you will not do nice finishing. That's the reason why you have to even finish it in a neat and clean way. So now we're coming to fold this in. Then we'll hand stitch. After folding this in, we'll sew this, and then you would hand stitch the, after doing your interlock weaving to make this neat, you will come and hand stitch this down so that it doesn't show here. So that's why we cannot use our sewing machine. It's not going to be nice when it shows here, so we'll hand stitch this. But now let's close up this place. So as you can see, the zipper is very long. We use the long one because the skirt's short zip will be short for a child, but this is the long one. You can use any one, but when you're done, you just have to cut it. And when you cut it, we'll have to close it up. You can see. You can double it like this. And so please subscribe to our channel, and then click on the bell button for notifications when we put new videos. Trust me, our videos are always going to be very educative and informative. Yeah, so there you go. After sewing this, you're going to interlock this with your weaving machine. Yeah. So after sewing, now we're coming to iron. We're going to cover this up, but make sure it's opened, and then you steam. There you have it. Our baby dress is ready. So our baby dress is ready now. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and then click on the notification button so that you can know when we put new videos.